The sun didn't shine as brightly as before. Its orange light slid down the tall buildings of Los Angeles, coloring the streets in gold and making the shadows stretch long. Keanu Reeves walked slowly with his hands in his coat pockets. His eyes were looking far away. The city was noisy in the distance, but on this quiet street, everything felt slower. Lights from an old cafe started to turn on. A neon sign blinked in blue and red, shining on the road. Keanu pushed the glass door open. The doorbell made a soft sound. Inside the cafe, everything felt still, like time had stopped. The walls were made of wood. Round tables were neatly placed. An old radio was playing soft jazz music. Keanu walked to a corner table and sat down slowly. A waitress came out from behind the counter. She had a cloth over her shoulder. "The usual?" she asked. Keanu nodded and gave a small smile. A few minutes later, a hot cup of coffee was on the table in front of him. He picked it up, but before he took a sip, his fingers touched his watch. The leather strap was old. The metal was scratched, but the face of the watch still shined. He gently made the strap tighter around his wrist. He did that without thinking. Keanu looked out the window. His reflection looked back at him, eyes full of old memories. He took a deep breath, drank the coffee, left some money on the table, and stood up. The bell on the door rang again as he walked out into the evening air. The breeze was soft and warm. He walked down the sidewalk, not knowing that the strap on his watch had come loose. He took a bigger step. The strap slipped off. The watch fell quietly onto the ground. Keanu kept walking. He didn't look back. On the other side of the city, the sun was going down. The sky was turning dark blue. In a small workshop called Open Door, the air smelled like oil and grease. Lucas finished wiping his hands with an old rag. He was 12 years old, small for his age but very smart and quick. His dad closed the toolbox. His face looked very tired. "Lock up when you're done, okay?" he said. Lucas nodded. His dad walked into the house. Lucas leaned on the workbench and looked at all the spare parts, old engines and little gears lying around. He loved this place. He liked learning how things worked. But he didn't really have anything that was just his. Outside, the shadows were getting longer. Lucas grabbed his bike and started to ride. The bike made little creaking sounds as he pedaled through the streets, which were getting more and more empty. The day was ending. Street lights began to glow, covering the road in soft yellow light. Then Lucas saw something shiny near the curb. It looked like a small sparkle in the dark. He hit the brakes hard. His bike tire slid a little before it stopped. He got off and crouched down. It was a watch. But not just any watch. Lucas picked it up carefully and felt how heavy it was. It felt special. The leather strap was soft from being used for a long time. The shiny metal case looked strong. The round glass face reflected the street light above. He turned the watch slowly and looked at every detail. His eyes grew wide. He knew this watch. His hands were shaking a little. He pulled a magazine out of his backpack. It was his favorite one. The magazine was about cool old watches. He had read it many times. Some pages had little marks and circles around the watches he liked most. He flipped through the pages quickly, past the Omegas, past the Pateks, until he found it. His heart beat fast. There it was. A Rolex Daytona Paul Newman. Lucas looked at the picture in the magazine, then looked at the watch in his hand. It had a white face with black smaller dials. The red hands looked fancy. The word Daytona was written in red above one of the smaller dials. He held his breath. This wasn't just a pretty watch. It was super rare. The Paul Newman Daytona was one of the most wanted watches in the world. Some of them were sold for millions of dollars. He turned the watch again and felt the tiny hairs on his arms stand up. Then he saw something written on the back. "For Keanu, my love. Never forget who you are." Lucas's stomach felt funny. Keanu? The name sounded familiar. He tried to remember where he had heard it before. It wasn't a common name. He rubbed his fingers over the message, trying to understand the story behind it. This wasn't just a watch with money value. It meant something to someone. Right now, that someone was probably very sad missing it. Lucas looked around. The street was empty. No one was there. He held the watch tighter. He knew exactly what it was. And now, he had to decide what to do. Lucas pedaled slowly, the watch still in his hand. It gleamed under the lights. But this shine felt different. This watch didn't belong in his world. It was worth a lot of money. Not just enough to pay a bill or two. It was enough to change his family's whole life. His dad's little workshop wouldn't have to survive on cheap repairs anymore. His mom wouldn't have to count coins at the store, choosing between milk and bread. They could leave their tiny, crowded house. They could buy new clothes. They would never have to worry about money again. They would never have to see the tired, worried look on his parents' faces. He turned the watch in his hand again. It wasn't just an expensive thing. It was like a magic key to a better life. And it was right there, in his hand. He tried putting it on his wrist. It fit perfectly. His heart beat faster. He imagined walking into his dad's workshop, opening his hand, showing all the money they'd get from selling the watch. His dad would never worry again. His mom would cry happy tears. His dad would be silent, so surprised, so proud. For the first time they could all relax. The thought made his head feel dizzy. But then, he felt the clasp of the watch press against his skin. And a voice came into his mind. What isn't yours doesn't belong to you. It was his father's voice. Strong and clear. Lucas took a deep breath. He looked at the back of the watch again. For Keanu, my love. Never forget who you are. His stomach twisted again. This watch had an owner. And that owner wasn't him. He stood there, feeling the heavy choice in his chest. If he sold the watch, they'd never worry about money again. But what if someone was crying for it right now? What if it had a story? He knew it did. The Paul Newman Rolex wasn't just a watch. It meant something to someone. And somehow, Lucas knew the owner needed it back. He closed his eyes tight. The fight inside his heart was strong. The dream of having money. The guilt of knowing it wasn't his. He took a deep breath. Then he tore the watch off his wrist, like it was hot and burning him. Lucas held the watch between his fingers. He could feel how big this moment was. Then, he noticed something tiny on the inside of the leather strap. He made a confused face and held the watch under the streetlight. There were tiny letters on the back, so small you could hardly see them. It was a phone number, but the area code wasn't one he knew. His heart started beating fast. If someone had a number engraved on the watch, it meant the watch was more than just special. His hands shook a little as he took out his phone. He typed in the numbers slowly, one by one. His thumb stopped right above the call button. Should I call? He thought. He took a deep breath and pressed the button. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Lucas felt a lump in his throat. Then someone answered. A woman's voice. She sounded strong and ready. This is Clara. Who's calling? Lucas looked at the watch in his hand. It felt even heavier now. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. What did I just do? He thought. The phone had rung once, twice, 3 times. Lucas held the phone tight against his ear. His heart beat faster with every ring. Then the call was answered. This is Clara. Who's calling? Her voice was strong but not mean. Lucas licked his lips. I found a watch. There was a short silence. It only lasted a second, but it felt much longer. What kind of watch? She asked. Now her voice was a little sharper. Lucas looked at the watch in his hand. It's a Rolex Daytona Paul Newman. It has a leather strap and a white face with black little dials. There's something written on the back. Clara didn't say anything for a moment. Then her voice changed a little. What does it say? Lucas touched the cold metal on the back and read the words out loud. For Keanu, my love. Never forget who you are. Clara let out a short breath. She didn't sound just relieved. It was like something very important had just been solved. Where did you find it? She asked. On the ground near a cafe. It was just there in the middle of the street, Lucas said. Clara was quiet again for a few seconds, like she was thinking. When she spoke again, her voice was different. More personal, more real. Lucas, this watch belongs to Keanu Reeves. Lucas felt cold all over. The name made sense now. He had heard of Keanu Reeves before, from movies and interviews. But he never thought he would be holding something that belonged to him. Clara spoke again, trying to help him feel better. I've worked for him for years. When he noticed the watch was gone, we went back to the cafe. We looked everywhere. Lucas looked at the watch again. He really wants it back, Clara said. The way she said it made it clear, it was more than just a watch. Lucas was quiet. Then he took a deep breath and asked, How do I know you're telling the truth? Clara gave a small laugh, but it wasn't mean. You're smart. That's good, she said. There were some soft sounds in the background, like she was walking. Listen, Keanu wants to meet you. He wants to say thank you. He asked me to talk to you first to make sure everything is done the right way. Lucas looked confused. He wants to see me? Yes, Clara said, then paused. But only if you're okay with that. Lucas's heart was beating fast. He never thought a lost watch would bring him to Keanu Reeves. He swallowed hard. Where? Clara smiled, even though he couldn't see it. There's a diner on the corner of Main Street. It stays open late. Can we meet there? Lucas looked around like he was looking for an answer in the night. Then he nodded to himself. Okay. Clara waited a second. Then she spoke softly. Lucas, thank you. Really? Lucas didn't say anything. He just hung up the phone. He stood there for a little while, listening to the night sounds. Then he carefully put the watch into his backpack. He got on his bike and started pedaling to the diner. This meeting was going to change his life. Did you bring it? Lucas looked around before answering. Yes. Clara saw the unsure look in his eyes. It's okay. Keanu is already inside. He just wants to thank you. Lucas looked through the diner window. And there he was, Keanu Reeves, sitting at a corner table. He had a cup of coffee in front of him. He wasn't on his phone. He didn't seem busy. He was just waiting. Lucas's heart pounded even more. Clara said, he's a good guy. Come on. Lucas took a deep breath and walked inside. The bell above the door rang as he came in. Keanu looked up and smiled. It wasn't a big, fake smile. It was a real one. Lucas felt a flutter in his stomach. Clara walked to the table first. Here he is. Keanu nodded and looked at Lucas kindly. So, you found a watch, he said in a calm voice. Lucas just nodded. He opened his backpack and gently took out the Rolex. He put it on the table. Keanu didn't touch it right away. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he touched the cold metal with his fingers, like he was meeting an old friend again. He turned it over and saw the words on the back. He took a deep breath. Lucas could feel that this watch meant a lot to him. Keanu smiled. I thought I'd never see this again. Lucas didn't know what to say. He just shrugged. I just found it on the street. Keanu finally picked it up and put it on his wrist. It fit perfectly. He looked at Lucas. Thank you. But this time his eyes said even more than his words. Then Keanu picked up an envelope from the table and held it out to Lucas. I want you to have this. Lucas looked confused. He slowly took the envelope and opened it. His eyes went wide. Inside was money. A lot of money. More than he had ever seen. He swallowed. This is a lot of money. Keanu smiled. I know. Lucas's chest felt tight. This money could help his family so much. But something inside him made him stop. He looked at Clara. Then back at Keanu. I don't know if I can accept this. Keanu leaned forward and put his hands together. Why? Lucas's head was spinning. Of course he wanted the money. Of course he needed it. But something inside him made it hard to just take it and leave. He took a deep breath. I didn't do this for money. Keanu was quiet for a moment. Then he gave a soft smile. I know. And at that moment, Lucas felt like this was just the beginning of something. He held the envelope tightly. It felt heavy, not just from the money but from the choice he had to make. He could feel the bills inside, but the hardest thing was the decision. He looked at Keanu, who was calm and kind, like he already understood what Lucas was feeling. This could pay all my family's bills, Lucas whispered, mostly to himself. He wasn't used to holding so much money. He wasn't used to someone just giving him something. It could, Keanu said. But I don't want you to take it just because you need it. Lucas frowned. What do you mean? Keanu took a sip of coffee. You thought about selling the watch, didn't you? Lucas felt a chill again. The air felt heavier now. He wanted to say no, but he couldn't lie. He looked down at the envelope. Yes, he said quietly. Keanu didn't seem surprised. He just nodded like he already knew. And why didn't you? Lucas blinked. The answer should be simple, because it was the right thing to do. But that wasn't the real reason. He took a deep breath. Because I knew someone would miss it. Keanu smiled a little. That is something special. Lucas looked at the envelope again. Part of him wanted to take it. Part of him needed to take it. But another part said, don't. He bit his lip. I don't know if I can take this. Keanu leaned in a little. Then don't. Lucas looked confused. But you want to give it to me. Keanu gave a small smile, the kind that showed he understood everything. Lucas looked at the envelope again. A part of him wanted to take it. He felt like he needed to. But another part of him felt like it wasn't the right thing to do. He bit his lip and said, I don't know if I can take this. Keanu leaned forward a little and said gently, then don't. Lucas frowned. But you want to give it to me. Keanu gave a small smile like he already knew something. Less than 10 minutes later, a car stopped outside the diner. A man in a suit came in. He smiled at Keanu and gave him a different envelope. Keanu opened it and took out a paper. He pushed it across the table to Lucas. If you want, you can start tomorrow. Lucas slowly picked up the paper. His eyes got big as he read the words. Internship at the Los Angeles Institute of Engineering and Watchmaking. Training for young talents. Scholarship for the future. Lucas's heart beat faster. He looked at Keanu with wide eyes. This is real? Keanu laughed. You reminded me of something important today. Good people should be rewarded, not with money but with chances to grow. Lucas felt a big lump in his throat. He had never thought that just by finding a watch on the street, he would end up sitting in a diner, getting a chance that could change his whole life. This isn't charity, Keanu said, noticing how Lucas looked. It's an investment. Lucas held the paper tightly in his hands. For the first time he felt something better than getting money, he felt hope for his future. Keanu smiled. So, what do you say? The next morning, Lucas woke up to a strange sound, the soft hum of a strong car engine. He got out of bed, still sleepy, and peeked out the window. A shiny black SUV was parked outside his house. His dad, still in his pajamas, stood at the door, scratching his head while looking at the car. Lucas felt his stomach twist. This is really happening. Before he could say anything, the driver stepped out and walked toward the house. Good morning. Is Lucas here? Lucas's dad looked at him, who was already standing at the door. Do you have something to tell me, kid? Lucas swallowed hard. He hadn't told his dad anything yet. The driver opened the car door and looked at Lucas. Are you ready? Lucas took a deep breath. He looked at his dad. Then he looked at the car. This wasn't a dream. He nodded. Yes. The car ride was quiet at first. Lucas stared out the window, watching the city pass by. He still didn't know what was going to happen. The driver took roads Lucas didn't know. Soon they were in a newer part of the city. Tall buildings, cool and shiny, surrounded them. Everything looked different, like the future. When the car stopped, Lucas saw Keanu waiting by a big glass building. Lucas slowly got out of the car, trying to take it all in. Keanu smiled. Welcome to the future. Lucas looked at the big sign on the building. Los Angeles Institute of Engineering and Watchmaking. His heart beat faster. What is this place? Keanu put his hands in his pockets. This is a lab where really smart people work on watches and tiny machines. He pushed open the glass door and waved for Lucas to come in. If you want, you can start today. Lucas stepped inside. His eyes grew wide. There were rooms made of glass. Tables filled with tiny tools. People wearing glasses that made everything look bigger. They were working on tiny parts so small Lucas could barely see them. He was amazed. Keanu took him to a table where a man was fixing the tiny inside parts of a watch. Every little piece was placed with care and skill. Lucas stares without blinking. You like taking things apart? Keanu said, smiling at Lucas. But have you ever thought about making something new? Lucas didn't answer. Right then he realized he had. This was a place he wanted to be. Keanu saw the look on his face and smiled. If you want, you can start learning today. Lucas looked down at his hands. He had always fixed broken stuff. But now, he could build something that would last forever. His eyes lit up. I want to. Keanu nodded, happy. Then let's begin. In the weeks that followed, everything changed for Lucas. He spent part of his time at his dad's workshop and part of his time at the lab. He learned about tiny machines, careful work, and smart ways to build things. Every day was a new challenge, and he loved it. Back at home, his dad's workshop started to get more and more customers. Keanu helped them grow. People told others about how honest and careful Lucas's dad was. Money wasn't a problem anymore. But what mattered more was that Lucas never had to ask himself, what if I had sold the watch? He knew he had made the right choice. One evening, Lucas was invited to a special event for new inventions. He didn't know what to expect. When he got there, in the middle of the fancy room, he saw someone he knew, Keanu Reeves. He was talking to people, calm as always. Keanu saw Lucas and smiled. He walked over and looked at Lucas's wrist. So, still thinking about selling watches? Lucas laughed. He raised his arm to show the watch he had made himself. No. Now I make them. Keanu nodded, pleased. He had already known Lucas would say that. Lucas never had to wonder again. What if I had sold it? The answer was right in front of him. In his dad's busy workshop, in his mom's happy smile, and in his own exciting journey that was just beginning. That day, Lucas knew he had made the right choice. Because sometimes, a small act of honesty can change everything. If you like this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.